Hello everybody, it's me Roscoe and welcome to another Ipswich Town Transfer Talk video where we discuss all the latest news. I'm here with good old Stuart Watson, our expert on all things transfers. Stu, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Ross. Been a very hectic couple of weeks. Still feels surreal. Ipswich Town being in the Premier League. Just played Liverpool. Now got Man City away next. Transfers are happening left, right, and centre. Exciting times.
Yes, mate. And the ninth signing of the summer for Ipswich Town happened on Monday. Jens Cajuste, who is a Swedish international, a season-long loan from, I'll say this again many times, Napoli. Yes, Napoli, the Italian side. Obviously joined them last season. 25 years age, Stu, midfielder, 23 caps for Sweden. Your thoughts on this one?
Kind of slipped under the radar a little bit with everything that's been going on. Ipswich playing Liverpool and other signings happening. For years, people have been crying out for Ipswich to go to the foreign market, sign an international, sign someone European that's a bit sort of mysterious and exciting that you can go and dig out their highlights and get excited by. They've done it this week, and it's kind of got buried amongst the sort of news agenda. Jens Cajuste, very interesting indeed. Born and raised in Sweden. Kind of made his name for I always struggle with the pronunciation of this one. Midtjylland in Denmark. Got a move to France off the back of that. Played for Reims for a season. There, then goes to Napoli, fresh off them winning the Serie A title last summer. That's so you don't go to the Serie A champions if you're not decent. Went there. Played his part last season, sort of in and out, and they've had a change of manager this summer, and it's been decided that is it Conte that's gone into
Yes.
Napoli? Yeah, I just went blank there. Yeah, Antonio Conte's gone into Napoli, decided that he wants his own players. Cajuste's been made available, and Ipswich have signed him on a season-long loan that could very well become permanent further down the line. If Ipswich stay up, there's talk that that's a kind of mandatory buy for 12 million, I think, something like that. We're getting so blasé about these figures being bandied around now, aren't we? But he's Kieran McKenna's kind of talked about him being a different type of midfielder to the ones that he's got at the moment. Feels that he's got a really strong midfield unit now with Morsi Luongo, Calvin Phillips, Yen Cajuste, Jack Taylor. So different types of players, and Cajuste, I think, is going to be all about athleticism, tackles. By all accounts, he's played as more of a sort of a number 8, a bit further forwards for Napoli, but he's had a conversation with McKenna. He feels he's better in a deeper role as a 6, as someone who can receive the ball off the goalkeeper and off the defence, and help the team build from the back. McKenna agrees. So yes, we'll see when he makes his debut. I think it will come too soon at the Etihad this weekend. A period of adaptation required to the club and to the league, but one I'm very much looking forward to seeing in action.
Yeah, because he loves to tackle, doesn't he, Stu? You can watch his highlight reels, and most of it is just his slide tackles. And I think he said that in his interviews, didn't he, about the old school British, slide tackles and all that.
Yeah. If you have a little look at that, there's a few highlights videos out there, and as you say, there's a lot of those where blindsided sort of slide tackles where he manages to hook the ball, win the ball, stand up, then drive 5 yards forwards, and it looks like he's got some little twinkle toes on him as well. He's not just a destroyer. So how that central midfield looks when everything settles down and everyone's fully fit and firing, we shall wait and see. Sam Morsi is the captain. He's been the beating heart of this team for so long. It's really hard to imagine a team without him in it. But if Phillips and Cajuste can get themselves really going, McKenna's gonna have a good headache on his hand, isn't he?
Very much so. Yeah, the ninth summer signing so far of this summer window. Let's talk about a story that you broke, Stu. Armando Broja from Chelsea, 22-year-old forwards. What do you know about this one?
It's close. I thought it was going to happen today, but it's still dragging on at the moment. They're pretty much there from what I gather. It's just the last few. When you're taking a player on loan with a potential obligation to buy for around £30 million, which is what's been widely reported. You're going to make sure that you don't, no stone is left unturned, so that the medical will be spot on, the legal side of things will be spot on. There'll be just a last few bits of back and forth going on between Ipswich and Chelsea now, but all agreed in principle. Every reason to believe that it's still going ahead. Kieran McKenna didn't want to talk about it today, but kind of acknowledged that it's happening and just said, well, there's still a little bit a way to go on that. So I won't talk about it just yet, but pretty much gave away that it's nearly there. Yeah, and that will be a striker through the door, which is what, an area of the team that Ipswich are a little bit thin on at the moment, with George Hurst sort of sidelined till October with that knee injury he picked up in pre-season. Liam Delap is really the kind of only number 9 at the moment, with Freddie Ladapo almost certainly will move on. Ali Al-Hamadi, was playing League 2 football not that long ago, and you would imagine maybe a loan spell is best for his development, or impact sub off the bench at best there. So Ipswich needed a striker, and they've got one with, without overplaying it, a decent amount of sort of Premier League pedigree for his age.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's played for Chelsea, he's played for Southampton, and also was on loan at Fulham last year. So yeah, he's got that Premier experience there. Albanian international as well, so another international getting chucked into the mix. I think he's won 23 caps for his country. So yeah, Mundo Broja, very close.
He's kind of a McKenna style striker. I think Alex has written a nice profile piece on him. If you go and have a look at that, I think if people look at his goal record alone, they might be a little bit underwhelmed. But we know that McKenna sides don't rely massively on the spearhead of the team carrying the burden of goals. He's 6'3", he's strong, he's mobile. All the things that kind of George Hurst has brought to the side. Southampton fans, I think, look back on him quite fondly from that loan spell when he would have been quite young when he went to Southampton. He'd have played more games. He's played a decent amount of games for his age at sort of top level, but would have played more. He had a knee injury, which he picked up during that winter break for the Qatar World Cup, which set him back for 6 months or so, and was quite unfortunate at Fulham, really, that Rodrigo Munoz hit top form in the second half of last season. Went there to kind of start games, but in the end sort of had his pathway blocked and only made sort of eight substitute appearances. So much like Calvin Phillips, he's coming here with probably a bit of a point to prove, bit between his teeth, bit of hunger, and that hopefully will work in Ipswich's favour. Yeah,
of course. The last time we had a player from Chelsea on loan was Mario Hutchinson. He did pretty well, so fingers crossed the same will happen there. Next player, Stu, is Jack Clarke. A bid is on the table, apparently, from Sunderland. 23-year-old left winger. Once again, you can watch all these highlights. I think 28 goals, 18 assists over the last 2 seasons. What do you know more about this one, Jack Clarke? I'm excited about this one, my friend.
Yeah, news broke late last night, I think, from the Times originally, and then the Sunderland Echo followed that up. And we did our own bit of digging this morning and can confirm that Ipswich have indeed lodged their first bid for Jack Clarke. There's been stories all summer to say that he was a player of interest, but Ipswich have stepped that up now and made their first move. £15 million plus add-ons is the starting point. We're now into a familiar sort of standoff that we've seen with people like Schmodix and others, where Sunderland will hold out for more and Ipswich won't want to pay over the odds. And I think ultimately this one gets done. From what I gather, I don't think the clubs are miles apart. It will be about how the fee's structured. And another one through the door, and not another one. It's yeah, and it's scarcely believable, really. Every day we're sort of waking up, Town fans are waking up to another player being linked for 10-15 million pounds. Jack Clarke burst on the scene at Leeds, gets a big money move to Tottenham. I think that was 10 million pounds. Couldn't quite break into their team there. Had a string of loan spells in the Championship. Ultimately has to drop down to League One with Sunderland, helps get them promoted, makes the move permanent, and he's been one of the Championship's best players over the last 2 seasons. We saw it with our own eyes last year. Socks down around his ankles, plays off the left side, proper proper old-fashioned winger who likes to take his man on. And we know McKenna has wanted a player for that left-sided attacking role. Went for Jaden Philogene earlier in the summer. That didn't come off. But he likes a left-sided winger who likes to play quite narrow, likes to cut inside, leave that space for Leif Davis on the overlap. And it looks like still a bit more work to do than the Broja deal, certainly. But I think it's trending towards Jack Taylor being that man at the moment.
Jack Clarke. Well, I'm sure I do that a lot of the time. You said Jack Taylor, but it's all
Did
right.
I? Sorry.
All right. It's a long day, Stu. Stu's just done a lot of presser stuff with Kieran McKenna, so it's all good. But yeah, Jack Clarke, I'm excited about that one, Stu. And yeah, I think that potentially could be the 11th signing of this transfer window. Interesting indeed. Where do you reckon next, Stu? If we do get those players in, where do you reckon Kieran McKenna will go next?
There's going to have to be a little bit of reshuffling to accommodate all these players. If Broja and Clarke sign, that will take the number of summer signings to 11. Not quite in Paul Cook 19 demolition man territory here at the moment. So you can have a 25-man senior squad in the Premier League. If both of those sign, Ipswich will have 27 players who tick that box. That's even taking into account that the likes of Delap and Hutchinson don't count towards that because of their age. They'll have 27, but there's a couple of obvious players that can move on to accommodate that. Freddie Ladapo is one. As I said, Ali Alhamdi might go out on loan. Kieran Slicker, the third choice goalkeeper, has spoken about the plan for him to go out on loan. So they can make some space for more. The one position that Kieran McKenna hasn't signed a player for this summer. Sorry, it's been a long week. Is the right-sided centre-back role. You can put a whole team together now. You go through it: Murich, Ben Johnson right back, Connor Townsend left back, Greaves left-sided centre half, Phillips, Cajuste central midfield, Hutchinson, Schmodix, Clarke, Delap / Broja up front. That's a whole team. The one thing it's missing is a right-sided centre half, and you just wonder if that is the one last piece of the jigsaw that they'll go for. They've been linked to a couple, not been able to kind of verify those so far, as Shea at Burnley, the lad at Sheffield United whose name escapes me at the moment.
I would try to help you here, but I can't pronounce it. So
yeah. So we'll see. I think if they did sign a centre half, one would probably have to move on, and maybe George Edmondson would be the one sort of in the firing line there. But I think that's probably about it, Ross. A lot of talk today about how McKenna wants strength in depth at the top end of the pitch, and how it wasn't just about the attackers that started games last season. It was obviously massively about the subs that came on and helped finish games, and how he wanted that same sort of strength in depth in the Premier League. So could there be one more even in attack as well? I think they're starting to get well stocked there, but I wouldn't completely rule that out. But it's always been about getting this balance right between keeping the core of the players that have helped get Ipswich here, but also then sort of adding to them and being ready for the Premier League. I think they've just about sort of got that balance right so far. I think if you did anything massively more on top of the ones that we spoke about, you could start getting to the realms of tipping that way. But we'll wait and see. We've still got a little bit of time left on the window, haven't we, till the end of the month? So I'm sure there's more to come.
Indeed, watch your space. I don't think we're going to be as bad as Chelsea, because obviously Chelsea have got like 400 teams they could put together. But yeah, we're doing some good business this window. Quick mention on Cameron Humphreys, Stu, because he's joined Wickham on loan. We've been discussing him every summer. Will he go out on loan? Kieran McKenna went, no, I want to keep him here, which I think was a good idea. This was the perfect time now, isn't it, Stu, this season? Go out on loan, go into a good League One team in Wickham. Matt Bloomfield, obviously, former Town Academy player as well. And, good level, and hopefully he'll do well at Wickham.
Yeah, long overdue, I think, for Cameron Humphreys to go out and get some regular senior football. He'll have learnt loads working under Kieran McKenna the last 2 years and being around a successful team and experienced players, but nothing nothing replicates playing men's football week in, week out. I think it would have happened this time last year, but Ipswich, I think, a couple of injuries, found themselves a bit short. They wanted him as a bit of cover to Leif Davis because there wasn't really an out-and-out cover for him at left back. And but we all know Cameron's talent. We've seen he came in at a really important time during the League One promotion season around Christmas when there was a few injuries, and played his part massively in that promotion. Has always been ready when called upon for cup games. And yeah, obviously Ipswich's trajectory has kind of meant that the door hasn't been open for him right now, but that's not to say it won't be in the future. So hopefully he can go to Wycombe and develop there, as you say, under a familiar face in Matt Bloomfield. I note that Sam Morsey tweeted to say that he's surprised that more Championship clubs weren't all over it as a signing. So Ipswich would have been really selective about where Cameron Humphreys went. There would have been loads of interest in him. They'll have obviously decided that Wycombe is the right place in terms of the manager, the style of play, how many minutes he'll get. So we'll all be keeping a little eye on Wycombe and Cameron Humphreys.
Yeah, indeed. Best of luck to Cam, and hopefully Matt Bloomfield doesn't get sacked just like Elkin Baggett's manager, because I think that was probably not Kieran McKenna's mind, where he's going to get a loan out a player and their manager gets sacked after the first few days.
Well, that's kind of worked out. Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of worked out maybe for Elkin Baggett, because he's ended up with Richard Keogh as his manager, someone that he'll have probably got a bit of a relationship with from the League One season, albeit he was kind of out on loan Baggett quite a bit, but they'll have crossed paths, and obviously Keogh's such a vastly experienced centre half, and I always think when the manager has played the position that you have, he'll be able to impart quite a bit to Elkin. Wycombe, the style of play for Cameron Humphreys, obviously Matt Bloomfield, disciple of Gareth Ainsworth, still quite a traditional Wycombe side there, so I hope he doesn't spend a lot of time with neck ache watching the ball go over his head, because that's not Cameron's style. But I just want to see him play week in, week out. I hope he doesn't sort of lose his place and not play. But Ipswich have covered themselves. They've got a January recall clause in there, so if it's not going the way they hoped, I'm sure they won't hesitate to bring him back in January and place him elsewhere.
Definitely, my friends. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Stu, for joining me. Another transfer talk in the books. As Stu mentioned, only 1 week left to go of the window. We could see some ins, could see some outs. Obviously, stay with us with all the coverage on our website. And we'll see you next time in another transfer talk video. Bye for now.